and Safeguarding Officer. Wow, very fancy. She has a first degree in French and linguistics. And in fact, this profile is tensioning me. Please just come, Pastor Joy. Don't be coming, please. Next, we have Dr. Simi. Let's give her a round of applause. Dr. Simi Sola Ajasa is a medical doctor who graduated from the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital with a degree in medicine and surgery called MBBS. Wow. And has over 12 years of currently practicing clinical medicine. She runs a private hospital and so on and so forth. Please come up, Dr. Simi. Dr. Simi seems to be here with a friend. Nice to see you. All right, next we have EVA. Let's give a round of applause for EVA. All right, EVA serves as an HR manager responsible for strategies to develop, attract, and retain talent. Now, if any of you know EVA and follow her on Instagram, she's very real about the human resource issues that we face in Nigeria. So let's give her a nice round of applause. Yeah. So she's going to get real with us on that. And last but certainly not the least, we have Mercy Makinde. Give her a round of applause, please. She is a seasoned, not unseasoned, but seasoned entrepreneur, writer, speaker, and a multiple award-winning advocate for women and the girl child. She was named one of the most inspiring women in Nigeria in 2017. If you have ever named you that, then don't clap. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please thank Pastor Joy for me for being a good sister. She hooked me up. Thank Pastor Bola for me for being a good sister. She just hooked me up really nicely. All right. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. I'm not going to beat around the bush at all because we don't really have much time for talking. We want questions. As I speak, please, if you have any questions from any of them, just, keep them in your mind, note them down, because we have a whole hour dedicated to questions and answers. All right? Excellent. So I'm going to start with you, Mercy. What does being a girl on fire mean to you? And how have you remained one despite things that you've been through?
Good morning, everyone. I just asked her how many minutes do I have? Okay, so being a girl on fire, I always update on my status. Most of the time I say, the fire that burns within me is greater than the fire outside of me. So what is happening around me does not determine my productivity. It does not determine my outcome because it's a different fire burning inside of me. And for me, that fire, the F, there stands for fighter. I am a fighter. I've been through hell and back, and I still stand. So that shows that the fire in me is consuming the one outside because there are many things fighting against the fire in me. For the I, it shows that the I there stands for being an inspiration to a lot of people. That's all I want to do with my life. I want people to look at me and say, because of you, Mercy, I didn't give up. So I stand to represent an inspiration for a lot of women. I hope you know I'm spelling fire as I go on. So don't get lost. So the R there is being resilient. There's a lot of things designed to make us give up. You start something, whether it's a business, even you start a family life, you make a resolution to do something. There are too many factors out there that just want to stop you. So I have become resilient. I've gone too far in building defenses around me that will just help me stick to what I do. Am I saying I'm perfect? No. I'm saying that there are a lot of skills I've built, a lot of resistance I've built to help keep my fire burning. And the E in fire is living a life of excellence, not of perfection. But you see, I can't stand mediocrity. And I do everything to resist it. And that's why a lot of people sometimes think I'm too high-handed or I'm too tough, and that's because I intentionally want to live a life of excellence. So my time management skills, I don't joke with it. I keep to time, I keep to appointments, I try to keep my word. I wasn't born like that. It's not my talent. It's not in my DNA. I make efforts to achieve this kind of results. And that's the fire, what the fire stands for me. And then the other part of the question is, how have you maintained all of this despite what you've been through? Okay, so let me start with what I've been through first, so that at least you understand the story. So at the age of 18, I was given out in marriage to a man older than my dad. I was given out in marriage by my dad, actually, so it doesn't sound like my village people kidnapped me. My dad gave me out in marriage to a man older than himself, and I was just 18. And in that marriage, I suffered all the forms of abuse you can think about. So when you hear of abuse, in your mind you think it's only physical violence, beating, slap. For me, I suffered sexual violence. I was a virgin. I wasn't sexually inclined to him. I didn't love him. I didn't like him. And he was there abusing me sexually every day. So you can imagine me walking around with bruises. That was worse than the physical violence. That was worse than the beating. I was abused socially because he would not allow me communicate with anybody. He wouldn't allow me have friends. He was a man almost 50. I was 18. So I couldn't talk. I mean, all the people around me were his contemporaries. So how would I relate? He wouldn't want me to have friends my age because he thought they would introduce me to men or to boyfriends. And if you're a lady, you're likely to be a lesbian. I can't even go to visit my dad. Well, I keep saying my dad because my mom died while I was quite young. So don't think, where is the mom in the picture? My mom, I lost her at about age 8. If I go to my dad's house, he has to come with me. It was that bad. He wouldn't even let me go to my dad's house alone. So he began to paint the picture that if I could ever have friends or even go anywhere, I could only go to church then because he was going. So if he was not going, he probably would stop me from serving my God. I was financially abused because he wouldn't let me do anything with my life. I couldn't have any job. I couldn't do any business. I was just there like a piece of furniture. And he would not fail at telling me, I picked you up from the gutter into the palace. You're my property. Who the hell is your father? Have you seen a pilot in your life before? Do you have any pilot in your family? You know, those are the kind of things he used to tell me. And he always tells me that I cannot be anything, I can't amount to anything in life, that I would ever need him in my life. And that without him, I would crumble like potato. Now, that's me quoting him verbatim, that I will crumble like potato. I don't know how many of you have seen potato crumble. I haven't. So those are the things that he says to me. And the funny thing is that this thing sticks. The thing you hear about yourself every day, they suddenly become your reality. So you can imagine what happened to my confidence. You can imagine what happened to my self-esteem. Like, I thought I was nobody. I thought I couldn't do anything right. But you see, there was that thing inside of me that kept telling me, Mercy, you are made for more. Mercy, you're worth more than this kind of life. But I just didn't know how to go about it. I knew, yes, I heard that voice inside of me. And maybe because all the while I was going through all of these things, I still had a relationship with God. At least I managed to keep that intact. It wasn't easy because I kept telling my God, all the people I knew, my mates, were not virgins, ended up having a beautiful marriage. Me that I kept myself, why am I here? So it was difficult to serve God. So don't think it was like a stroll in the park for me. It was really difficult. But I still managed to maintain that relationship with God. And I think he kept me for a reason. I mean, looking back now, I now know why I went through that. But while I was there, I didn't know. I just felt this cannot be the punishment for being a good girl. This certainly can't be the reward. And it was really painful. I was in that marriage for 11 good years. Yes, 11 good years. And I had 2 boys. I still have them. My first is 22, going on 23. He's in his final year in the university now. Thankfully, they are both with me, the 2 boys I had in that marriage. I remarried 3 years after I left him. Had another 2 boys. So I have 4 boys altogether. And I'm now married to my best friend, a man who supports my dream, who allows me fly, he allows me become myself. When I left that marriage, it took me 10 whole years for me to confidently say I've healed. A lot of things happened to me. I became the person I know I wasn't. I became very bitter. I was angry. I was snappy. I hated men. And perhaps I even hated women. Because I know a lot of people turned their backs on me when I was in the situation, yes. Because even my dad, at the point I was confident enough to say, I need to leave. I can't stay here anymore. My dad says, no, there's no divorce in our family, so you won't be the first. So even forgiving my dad took a lot. And then what about the friends that turned their back on me? No, before they would say I'm the one that broke your marriage. How about the church? I was excommunicated because I said I would not continue with the marriage. And my church said, we can't have you here, you're disobedient, you're a rebel, and nobody greets me from that church. So it was like, life was hard on me. Everybody was wicked around me. But what kept me going was that I believed in myself. Somehow, somewhere, I found something inside of me that told me I was worth something. Yes, I had self-doubts because of everything he had said to me over time. But I still felt inside of me that there's something good that can come out of me, even though he had told me time and time again that, look, there's no pilot in your family. There's no successful person in your family. You don't have any successful person in your village, so you won't be the first. And it was very easy to believe those kind of lies. But when I came out, I sat down and this goes for everybody who is going through anything now. The first thing you need to do is to accept your reality. We all lie to ourselves a lot. So you're in a marriage that is not working and you are telling yourself stories, painting a picture, relationship girl, marriage girl, deceiving people. Tell yourself the truth. Yes, don't bother to lie to yourself. Yep. I did not try to sugarcoat it. Yep. Because I was doing that for the longest of time. That was why I was there for 11 years. If I had cried out from the beginning, even though I was young and naive, I'm sure one or two people would have told me one or two things. Yeah. But I was there covering up. Anytime they beat me and I have a black eye, I wear sunshades. I would do braids and cover my face. Then there was no wig, so it was big braids. I would do telephone wire and cover the black eye. If I had spoken out then, probably I wouldn't be there for 11 years. And the damage I suffered and my children suffered, because till now, as I speak to you, I still have battles with my children, especially my first son. Because he was the oldest and he was the one that saw a lot of the violence. So that boy is still going through a lot. So the first thing you need to do to get out of a bad situation is to tell yourself the truth. Look, I am down. He who is down needs fear no fall. So just get up. And when you get up, the next thing is to have focus. Now that I'm getting up, is it to get up and remain in the same position? What do you want to get up to do with your life? When I got up, I thought about everything he had said to me in the past. I thought about all the challenge. I brought you from gutter to palace. I did this, I did that. There's no successful person in your family. My last word to him on the day I was leaving, I told him, I said, because he said, you amount to nothing. Nobody will even talk to you. All the people that like you and you think they like you is because of me, because of the pilot. Without the pilot, you are nobody. And I said to him, you will read about me in the newspapers.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Those are my final words for him. That has been my motivating factor. So please don't hate your haters. You know, all of you saying, pepper them gang, haters kind of people. Don't hate them. They are your greatest motivation. My ex is and will remain my greatest motivation. For every time, like throughout yesterday, there's a program I did, and it was running every hour on channels. So, I mean, by 9 o'clock, somebody's calling me on channels. 10 o'clock, somebody's calling me on channels. I'm like, why am I on channels every hour? So I realized there's a program they call News Track, and they repeat the news. I didn't even know that all my life. I've been watching channels until yesterday. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'm sure he would have stumbled in one of the episodes. So let your so-called haters be your motivation. There's no need sweating over them. Stop wasting your time listening to what they are up to and checking their Facebook to see how they are doing. If they are following you, stop trailing them. Stop snitching on them. Let them be your motivation. Because a lot of us, even when we get up and try to move, we are held back by the baggage of trying to keep track with our past. You cannot hold on to your baggage and think you want to run fast. It's not going to work that way. Have a focus. Where are you going? So when I left, even though it took me 10 solid years to start what I'm doing now, because I needed to heal. I needed to be sure that when I'm talking to somebody about forgiveness, about healing, I knew that it was coming from the right place. I know I'm not telling them because of what I read in a book or what a motivational speaker told me. I wanted to come from my heart, so I gave myself time to heal. For you, it might be 2 years, it might be 5, it might be 3, it might be 15, it might be 20, I don't know. I don't pray it's longer than 10 years anyway. I pray that it's a shorter journey for you. But when I started talking to women, I knew I was talking to them from the bottom of my heart. And my resolution was simple, that any woman that comes in contact with me or I come in contact with, I would do everything within my capacity to make sure that no woman goes through what I went through. And that is why I started my NGO, besides the businesses I do, to help mentor women, to run programs for them, because the worst thing that can happen to a woman is not to be financially empowered. I was there because I thought I had no option. But the options were there. But because I looked back and I didn't have an account that read any amounts, like zero, I didn't have 0 naira, if that's of any value. So I thought I couldn't do anything, my life wasn't meaningful. But when push came to shove, I left without a dime anyway. But I wish I knew that at the time. I wouldn't have stayed 11 years. So not having information, education, all kinds of things is a really, really big setback for women in this part of the world. And then another thing you need to follow through is that when you get up, you have a focus, go through what you've made up your mind to do. Don't listen to naysayers. Don't listen to the names they will call you. Of course, they said a lot of things. Oh, the man has trained you. Now you want to leave him and go and follow younger men. Oh, prostitute. All kinds of things. I didn't allow that to affect me. I've always known early in life, there was an old song my dad used to play. I think it was Ebenezer Obey or Sonny Ade, that you can't do anything to please the people of the world. So even as a child, I already knew that. So I wasn't ready to even start pleasing them. At that time, I was just all by myself and down. So I lifted myself up and I began my life all over again. Now this is the story of 11 years. I can't say it in a one-day meeting. And I can't say everything in this panel session, but I'm hoping that your questions will be able to bring out other things I've failed to mention. I would like to, at this point, give the mic to other panelists. Thank you very much.
This is when we all say wahoo. Can we all say wahoo? Because, I mean, wahoo. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, I'm just going to move on to you. I'm still a bit like, your stories were amazing, and I'm sure we have a million questions that will come up from all the things that you have shared. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Simi. So yesterday I just said, oh, okay, Dr. Simi is a doctor. Okay, what can we ask a doctor about? And I started doing some research about, just things that are going on in the world. As we all know, depression and anxiety and all those topics are trending worldwide. And let's not pretend like they are not real, because we see it, it's on our doorstep, so let's kind of just deal with it, right? The statistics are really scary. I mean, I see things like, women are more prone to depression than men. The majority of women have depression. We see postnatal depression. I mean, there's just so many things that we see and we hear about. Anxiety disorders. I saw that apparently, I think in Africa, they were saying that because of the cultural, issues and nuances, that women in Africa are actually more prone to depression than women elsewhere. And I was like, how was all this? Dr. Simi is coming. She will answer us. So, Dr. Simi, here you are. Talk to us. Okay, Talk to us about being a girl on fire and actually being realistic in managing our health, our limits, knowing our triggers, and just the kind of things that we should be doing and we should be thinking about, because, we can be girls on fire and inside.
We forget every other thing.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, so hello, ladies. I hope, her story has really wowed me. I started the wowoo thing here first before, she said we should all say it. Now, the truth is, I'm sure following what she went through, there's no how she wouldn't have had a bout of depression.
I attempted suicide 3 times.
So it's
okay, I forgot to mention that I attempted suicide 3 times.
So, when you can imagine.
Sorry, really quickly, please, can you write your questions if you've got any? I think that the ushers have papers and pens. Please start writing your questions, because I think that it's important that as they speak, anything that comes to you, write it down. Thank you.
All right, so, it is important for us to know that mental health or mental disorders are really, really, really coming up in this part of the world. So the studies you see or statistics you see mainly are from abroad, the Western world, but it is really underdiagnosed here in the part of the world because, number one, nobody wants to speak out. You don't want to say anything because you're thinking of the stigma attached to it and all. So let's start by saying, okay, exactly what is this mental health about? And it's about our emotional, psychological, and social life. So if you're unable to balance these 3, you definitely get affected. You want to know that you can balance everything with your everyday life. Now, the truth is we're saying girl on fire, girl on fire, girl on fire. But none of us as women, because of all what we want to do, we never know our limits. That's just the truth. There's this superwoman complex that comes with, being a woman in this part of the world. Now, I remember when you called me yesterday, you were saying you were shocked that, is it that women have more, mental disorders than men? But statistics also show that there are relatable things to men as well. So it's not only women. But we have some certain things that are, women-based. So more like depression, anxiety disorders you find them more in women than in men. Why? A man doesn't want to go to the hospital to say, I don't feel well. I think I'm sad. There's that thing. But a woman, I would see a woman come to me and say, I just don't know why I'm sad and all. So that's why it's becoming, it's becoming out there, and we need to know our limits. Now, other things that we know as women that can that can cause mental disorders are the stressors, our stress. We don't know our stress levels. We don't know when to say, no, I can't take it anymore. No, I need to do this. You know, depression, anxiety disorders, there are a lot of things that are attached to them. There are a lot of things that can lead to a depression. Like what she went through led to the depression. So most times you can relate depression to something. Anxiety disorders as well, you can relate them to things that have happened. But we also have things that, you know, it just comes up. It's not what you do. You don't know that your stress levels are going to affect you. You don't know that they're going to cause issues for you. And a lot of us don't even manage stress at all. Stress in Lagos is our everyday life. True or false? You wake up at 4:15 or 4:30. Now it's as if there's even a craze with traffic everywhere. So it's not a Lagos, it's not what's it called? It's not a mainland issue.
So you have 1 minute.
It's not a mainland issue, it's more of everywhere now. So, you know, we have stressors everywhere. But the point is we need to know where our limits are. Now, there was a simple thing I learned when we went for the, what's it called, the marriage thing. We went for marriage retreat last year. And you know, Pastor Godman taught us something about your drainers and your feelers. That's how I manage stress in everything. And I would want all of us before the end of today, you know, pick out a paper, write out the things that drain you. Not just in your marriage, because I'm not talking to just married people. In your life generally, what are the things that drain you? Traffic, not sleeping well, children, they drain us. They are stressors. Husbands are stressors. Just being real here, we're doing the real talk. So these are the things that drain us. Write it out and make a list. Then write your feelers. So your feelers are things that make you happy. Things that when you are done with, you know that, oh, me, I'm a foodie. Food makes me happy. Food and sleep. So my friends threw a baby shower for me recently and they were like, what does Sola like to do? And I was like, if you don't know it, then it's a problem. Food and sleeping. Once I want to shut down, I will shut down. So you make a list of your feelers. That's just how to manage stress. And look at it. If your drainers are more than your feelers, excuse me, you are living a stressful life. And before you know what's happening, your mental health is affected. Because before you start to see that you are unnecessarily unhappy. You start to see that you're avoiding people. You start to see that I want to be by myself. I just want to do my me things. Those are the things you need to look out for. I'm sure by the time the questions come in, I'll be able to direct more towards what are the things we need to do and how to handle stress and any other questions in general.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have very few time left, but we're going to try to get as much as we can out of these two beautiful ladies on my left. So Pastor Joy or Fire. Pastor Joy or Fire. So tell us what spirituality has, like what place it has in being a girl on fire.
You know, a lot of people don't think it's cool to be spiritual. And they think, you know, you have to almost like be a wali and be prophesying all over the place, you know. But I beg to differ. I think it is mega cool. And the advantage we have when we plug into that spiritual energy is beyond words. The insight you have, the wisdom, all I can say is an advantage. So it puts you at an advantage. So for those who are married with children, you don't know what's happening to your children in school. You're not there. But when you are spiritual, and by that I mean sensitive to God, I don't mean you come to church every day. There's a difference between being spiritual and being religious. We are all religious. We understand that. And we need deliverance from religion. But we underestimate, we undermine the place of that personal connection with God. We feel, I have to call Pastor Bola to pray for me. Not that I can't just say, Lord, help me. I don't know what to do. Give me wisdom. We feel, it's almost like your wire to God is too skinny. And you need somebody that has a bus road. Or what did SJ say yesterday? An Ikorodu road lane to God, not a narrow lane. But that's not true. Everybody can be filled with the Holy Spirit. Everybody can have a vibrant connection with God. Everybody. It has happened to me so many times that my children, then I remember once, my son was about 5 or 6, could hardly talk. And he woke up from sleep, came into my room, said something to me. I looked at him and said, excuse me? He said, yes, mommy, God said this. And I wept like, oh, so God has been trying to speak to me. My ears have been so blocked that he has to wake up a 5-year-old from sleep to come and tell me this. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just listen? So that's what I will say to you, that look, the advantage you get from being spiritual, I mean, it's not being spooky and speaking in tongues everywhere, but being really spiritual, having an actual vibrant connection with God is beyond words. And we'll just take questions because I know we're out of time.
Thank you so much. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Thank you. Okay, EVA, last but not least. So we hear quotes like, what do you have in your hands? Talent, preparation, all these, after a while, I think some people get a bit overwhelmed, talents versus, just hard work. How do we prepare? I want to, be a CEO. Right now, I feel like I'm so small. I'm the receptionist. There's so many levels of people out there who are just not sure how to get to the destination that they know that God has called for them. So can you just tell us, based off of your journey and your experiences, the kind of CVs you've seen, the job placements that you've done, what people can do that are in that kind of a situation?
Okay, so I've been recruiting for over 7 years, and what I've noticed between the candidates that are fantastic and the ones that are not fantastic is the fantastic ones are intentional and deliberate about their career. They don't wait and say, oh, I've been working in this company for 10 years, so I deserve a promotion. They fight for a promotion, and they do this by one. They are problem solvers. They don't come to the organization and say, oh, it's 8 to 5, let me do my job, and then I go home. They are thinking of how can I be impactful in this organization? How can I solve a problem? So beyond my core team, beyond my core JD, what am I doing in the next department that is helping the organization's bottom line? Secondly is they know their stuff. So it's not enough for you to say, oh, I'm an accountant. Do you own that space? So when they are thinking of people in your organization that should be the ones to solve certain financial things, would you come up? How well do you know your stuff? Are you intentional about developing yourself, personal development, resources, training? How intentional are you about that? Third is they are extremely passionate. For them, it's no longer just a job. It is a career. This is my life. It's my calling. I'm going to be 100% dedicated to it. So when I see people like this in a 10-minute conversation during career advisory, I can tell you that an organization is going to look for them. There's a popular saying that if you catch fire, people will come and watch you burn. My question is, in your career, are you on fire and are people looking to watch you burn?
Wow. Okay, deep. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we don't really have any time for the panel discussion anymore because, we kind of just packed it all into one. So, do we have any questions? Anybody bold enough to come out themselves? I'm sure we have some people here that have questions. If not, can the ushers please hand me questions? But while we're waiting for the questions, can any of you at all that feels led, what is having it all? And is it even possible? What is all?
Okay, all is all, really. All that you want.
Okay.
So I don't want a private jet because I don't think I need it. I don't necessarily want to, now this is an odd thing. So I'm in education, and typically in this part of the world, everybody says, oh Joy, you do so much, you've gone for 2,000 courses, you know so much, you should own your school. And I'm like, I don't want to own a school. And you see the face like, what? How can you not want to own your school? But I don't want. I don't. It's too much headache anyway, managing all those parents, terrible. Anyway.
So basically,
no offense, but
different for
so I want to do something else, and I'm doing something else. So that's what all is, what you really want. What is your desire? And this whole thing, we talked about it yesterday, where I see her, oh, she looks so nice, I want to be yellow. Why? Yes, because I think, oh, she's bright, the makeup will pop on her face better than on my face because I'm dark-skinned. It's okay. No, it's true. You have young girls, teenagers, who Especially, you know, siblings. One is light-skinned, one is dark-skinned. You don't want to know what that does for the dark-skinned lady. My daughter once said to me, you know, I don't really like all these white guys. She schools abroad. I'm white guys, but sometimes I think about my children and I'm tempted. Maybe I'll marry. I'm telling you, somebody who's white, so that what happened to her will not happen to her children. They used to call her 11:59. Meaning one step away from midnight. Yes. And then there was a boy they used to call Midnight. And it's like, you know, she said, what that did to her, like, you're too dark to even begin to be beautiful. You're just there. So the temptation to, you know, Tura, no, it's not Tura anymore. I don't know what they use now. All sorts. Then when we were younger, it used to be Tura soap. But I don't know, this Fair and White. Okay, you know, the temptation to find something and to rub was there. But I had to keep reinforcing, you're beautiful, you're this, you're this. So now she owns it. But linking on to what she said, when you don't have anybody to counter that negative, you don't have anything. But when you have your sisters, you have your mother, your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your child, whoever, when that person is inspiring you, is a motivator to you, then you have all. You have all that you need, really. You have a source of strength.
Thank you so much.
So I get these questions a lot. How do you balance everything? Because basically our question borders around work-life balance, right, Felicia?
Yes.
Yeah? So people say, oh, you do all of this, your business, your NGO, you have your family, and I have plenty children. And so how do you cope with all of this? And my answer is always very simple. You can have it all, but not all at the same time. So there are some times that certain things have to suffer. So for example, in the last 2 weeks, I've not been at home. So I came home, and yesterday I was coming for the evening event. I got stuck in traffic. I just told my driver, enter 4 points. I'm not coming again. Because I looked at it, I was already to 8. So I stayed there. So my kids have not seen me. Like I came back after 2 weeks, so they saw me for 1 day, and they didn't see me again yesterday and today. So they'll see me this evening, and then I'll leave for Abia, because I have an event in Abia. And I have event till the 30th of October. So my kids have not seen me 3 days in October, stretch. If you put together all the hours they've seen me in October, it's not been 3 days. But there are some times I'm with them, like in July to September, during the long holiday, I was with them every day, no nanny. Do you understand? So sometimes some aspects of your life will suffer. And when I traveled with them and stayed with them all through the summer holiday, business suffered, NGO suffered, everything suffered. But it was family time. Now it's work time. They are not seeing me. There are some things. So I came back and they told me, we've been eating bread in the last 3 days for breakfast. Our cereal finished. You know, I got all sort of complaints. I had a long list of the things they needed to buy and all of that. So you can have it all. So you can see me from your seat, and it looks like my life is very perfect, right? That's what it will appear, right? Yeah, but the truth is that sometimes some aspects of my life suffer. That's just the plain truth. Nobody can come and tell you that I have it all. You can have it all, but not all at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a question here. So, a lady, she knows, you know, God has given her visions. She's seen her bright future. Her pastor has told her, her friends have told her, everybody has all seen, you have such a bright future. But her husband is very intimidated. As in, she can tell that he's intimidated by her, and obviously maybe all her dreams, her ambition, your gragra is too much, what's wrong with you? And maybe everybody around him is even fueling the fire, you know? How does she handle that? Anybody that would like to answer? Any of you?
Okay, so permit me to answer that again. Not because I talk so much, but because I've been on both sides of the divide. I've experienced living with a man who is intimidated and living with a man who is not. So with my ex, I couldn't do anything because I think the age difference, so there was a feeling of inferiority complex. This small girl wants to come and outshine because there's nothing I didn't try while I was with him. I published a magazine in my 3rd year in university. Remember, he married me at 18. I was in my 1st year. So I hadn't been to school, but I insisted I need to go to school. It was tough. He wouldn't even want me to go to school. You see me sitting here today, I have begged Not I have begged, so it will sound like once. I used to beg for 15 naira on the streets of GRA Ikeja to get to Unilag. Yes, I used to beg money from Malam. Sometimes I would trek to anywhere, maybe Antoni, Jibo, till I get somebody who gives me a lift. So those days of lifts, you know, you wave down, people lift. Thank God that it wasn't the days of kidnap. That is how I used to go to school. And I don't have any problem saying it here today. So if you think your own condition is the worst, look, some people have been through worse things. And all I needed to go to school was 15 naira. No, I'm not even taking money for food, lunch, what's that? We'll swallow our spit and we'll be fine. So don't even think that anything you're going through, this is a man that would not want me to do anything. Now, flip the coin. I'm now with a man, I'm not at home months, weeks, days. He's fine. He's checking up on me. He's even giving me suggestions. I'm even calling him and screaming on the phone. Can you imagine what is going on? Okay, don't worry. I'll see what I can do. He's not intimidated. He's not afraid that she's becoming too famous or she won't respect me anymore or if I help her. But again, there's some work to be done. So when I crossed over, like the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, and I came to this relationship, I also was on my guard because, you know, I didn't know what to expect. At first, I didn't want to get married. Like I tell people, marriage is a bill of a krika. You don't know what's inside until you open it. So I didn't even know whether this one too will have his own. But it's true. But it's true now. I'm busy a lie. It's true. Okay. So I didn't know what to expect from this one. So I didn't just come out to start telling him, hey, dude, I have a dream. I have a dream. I have plans. I didn't do that. I had to take it step by step. So when I started Amazing Amazon, the truth is, he didn't know where I was going with it. He didn't even understand the vision. I didn't tell him, I went to match all the women in the 36 states of the Federation and we'll be going around doing stuff. No. I just told him that it's just a small WhatsApp group. Let's just be encouraging ourselves. You have to use wisdom. They say wisdom is profitable to what? To direct. Some of the time, the problem with us is us ourselves. Yeah. You know, women, we apply diplomacy everywhere else except in our home. Yeah. So when we are at work, we know how to talk to our boss. We know how to do him like this and get the leave and get extra days on our maternity leave. But we don't bring the same diplomacy home. And that's where we need it the most. So, and I want to get something from my husband. My husband is typically, I hope he's not going to watch this anywhere, because I don't want him to know the trick. My husband is typically a man that if I tell my husband to give me, let's say, 500K, he will shout, 500K, where do you want me to see it? But if I tell my husband, give me 50K, now, he'll give me. If I ask him another 100K in the next 2 hours, he'll give me. I can get the 500K in one day. So you need to understand the man that you're living with and know how to deal with him.
If I may add.
Do you understand what I mean? So if you feel you're mad, except he's just like the older brother of Lucifer himself that doesn't want you to do anything. But with some men, you can manage.
Yeah.
If you want to start, I don't want you to go out. I want you to look after the children. It's okay, my darling. Actually, why I want this business is just to assist you. You don't tell him, I need to be on my own. I need to be my own person. No. You just tell him, it's just because I need to assist you. So every time I want to come and ask you money for pad, money for Maggie, it's just to assist you. You know what? I really want to take care of these children. But guess what? Let me even start from home. Let me start from Instagram. And you start to feed him small. By the time that he needs one money, the money I've been saving, you bring it out. Trust me, when you want to do something else, you allow you.
Yeah. Just one sentence I want to add to that is sometimes the man is truly intimidated because he feels inadequate. Yeah. He feels that you have 3 PhDs, you know, you earn 6 figures, and he's just coming in his small corner. He cannot afford to buy your jewelry, your hair, and things like that. So how do you deal with that? I love what you said about us humbling ourselves. If we humble ourselves and we don't rub it in their faces, then they'll be fine. After all, Deborah had a husband, and she was leading the army of Israel. But she has a husband. And I think the Bible was deliberate to say, Deborah, wife of Lapidoth. So there are some Lapidoths that can marry strong women. Not everybody. So just understand, if the man is shaking too much, just cross. Leave it. Because it won't work. He will bully you. He will pull you down. But when you humble yourself and you're diplomatic with your husband, you will help him build his self-esteem. So he stops being intimidated. Because honestly, some of us are intimidating. How many degree? Only you. How many money? Only you. Of course, the man is intimidated. So help him.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's a lady, right? And she thinks that she's depressed. She's just having a hard time. Everything just seems to be, everything is just not working. You know, so the lady's name is Kemi. What does Kemi do? All right, Kemi's married, sorry. Okay. Kemi's married, and she has 2 kids, and she doesn't have a lot of help or support.
All right, so depression, first things first. A lot of us can just come up and say, I'm depressed. So we have what we call depression by me just saying I'm depressed, and then there's what's called clinical depression. So there are tail signs that we look out for with clinical depression that I want to be sure that this is clinical depression. You know, are you going through things that you're actually withdrawing from life itself? You don't want to see anybody, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well. Things like that have started bordering line clinical depression. But if it's depression that you just feel as if because you're tired of some situation or this or that, although regular depression can lead to clinical depression if not worked on. But the truth is, with clinical depression, we need to sort help. Now, the funny thing is that a lot of us won't even come out. You don't want to tell anybody because you're afraid of what people are going to say. Then, like we said, we tend to over-religionize everything. So you're going to go to your pastor, you're going to go to, you know, your prayer partner sister. I'm not saying there's no place for that. But at that point, they don't have the professional capacity to help you. So if you feel at any point in time, or some loved one around you, you feel the person has clinical depression, then it is advisable to seek help. Because it is not just, oh, let me talk to them, let me pray it away. It doesn't go away that easy.
Where do you seek help?
Okay, so there are tail signs.
No,
where do you seek help?
Like places
Okay, so professionally, regular GP doctors can identify with clinical depression.
Regular GP doctor means just normal doctor. Big doctor English. Normal doctor.
All right, so they would advise you, and then they can refer you to a mental health specialist. You know, we tend not to use words like psychiatrist anymore because of the stigma attached to it. You know, you're saying you're seeing a psychiatrist. It's not really, right? So we say a mental health specialist. A mental health specialist may not necessarily be a doctor.
Okay.
So it can be a psychologist, and there's a place for, so when we're managing depression, there are different areas we're going to look at as psychotherapy or drugs. But so a mental health specialist can be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, any of the two. But that's where you seek help from, and that's how you start to treat it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great information. Okay, so a lot of people have this question about forgiveness, right? A lot of people have been hurt, they've been abused, and they really do not know how to move on from it. So I know that you have some very personal experiences in that, and I'm sure other people here do as well. But how can we realistically move forward? I don't want to be held down by, the bondage of being angry, being oppressed, being sad about, somebody hurting me or abusing me. So how? Realistic tips, just maybe so you can give us 2 tips, and then anybody else can maybe just pitch in. Anyone else that has had any experience in that?
Okay, so it's not easy to forgive. That's fundamental, is the truth. But the first way you can begin to forgive someone is to tell yourself that you're doing it for yourself. You're not forgiving for that person's sake. Holding on forgiveness is like drinking poison on another person's behalf. It is like sentencing your life to bitterness for another person's wrong. When you understand that, it makes the burden easy. 2, don't expect that you can come and say, I've forgiven him for hurting me or for cheating on me, and then you just forgive. It just disappears. Like you were sweating and then you dried the sweat. No, it doesn't happen like that. It's going to take a while. And forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. So I have forgiven my ex, but I sure do remember everything he did to me. But it doesn't mean I've not forgiven him. So I don't hold any grudge against him. If I see him, I'm happy to greet him. I can relate with him. I don't feel bitter. Because the time I was really bitter, if I was still bitter, I probably won't be in my marriage. I won't have a happy marriage. I won't have a happy life. So you forgive for yourself. You forgive for your own good and not for the person who wronged you.
Thank you.
What I will add to that is that God has taught me that forgiveness is a choice you make. And I've told this story severally, so I won't bother, but there was a time when my husband really upset me, and I felt like I couldn't cry outside, but I was crying inside. It just, maybe because I don't really cry. Anyway, so, it felt like the tears were just dripping inside, and I couldn't, and I was physically shaking. So, in the middle of the pain, I really felt God say, but you know what I expect you to do. So I said, okay, God, this is the prayer. Okay, God, I know you want me to forgive. So I choose to forgive just because I will obey you. But you need to take away this pain because I cannot deal with it. So that was the first prayer. I made the choice to forgive. And I asked God to do the one I cannot do, to remove the pain. After a few days, my husband now started saying, he doesn't know what he has done to me, but God sees his heart. He was just talking. To reopen the wound, you know what I mean? So I now say, okay, God, second one, please explain to him what he did. So that he does not do it again. Because I won't be able to deal with this. And God did just that. So forgiveness is, you make the choice, you decide to forgive. Very, very intentional. And because we have the advantage, you have the help of God. The one we cannot do, we cannot remove bitterness. It's not a tree I planted in my heart that I can unearth. It is a tree of bitterness, a root of bitterness, the Bible says. But God can uproot it. So that like she's saying, so I can talk about the incidents in detail. And my husband says it's just bad people that keep grudge. And I'm like, no, it's when wicked people do things to us that we bear grudge. And then we'll tease each other and laugh about it now. But it wasn't funny then, and it took a while. Because to talk, the words could not come out because of the lump in my throat. The words couldn't pass. With the bitterness, it was terrible. So make the choice, and then ask the Lord to remove the bitterness and the pain and set you free from that hold. So that, hey, I've forgiven and I'm good.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, so Evie, this question is for you. There's a lady who, she wants to further her education. She wants, all these personal developments, goal setting, all these things that people like to tell us to do. She wants to do all that, and she really wants to advance, but she just doesn't know how. She doesn't know how, she's overwhelmed. She knows that there's online courses, but it's even overwhelming. Every corner you turn, there's one pop-up telling you, free course. There's just so much, and she's kind of trying to figure out how to advance herself in her career. So what advice can you give her?
First thing will be, you need to be clear on your career goal and vision. What do you want to do? So someone says, I hear this a lot from people who send me emails. Hi, I'm looking for a job. I ask you, what kind of job? Oil and gas. As what? Where in oil and gas? What's your reason? They pay well. Okay. So when someone like that comes to me and says, so what kind of courses can I do? I can't help you because I don't know the course you can do to earn well to work in oil and gas. However, if you're clear on, I don't even know what I want to do. At least I'm clear and honest that I don't know. Then it's easier for me to say, okay, I know that I have interest in HR, admin, and operations. What courses are relatable? Then I can say, let me go for an online course or go for a physical course. So it starts with being clear on what you want to do career-wise. Now, once you've ascertained that, you need to also be clear about that industry. For example, I tell people that in HR, people respect certifications more than a master's in HR. Now, people may not know. So people finish from university straight, I'm going to do masters in HR. You come back, there's no work. Still in HR, people respect experience over certification. So there are people who have all the certifications and are not growing. But there's this young lady who has no certification, has 10 years core experience and is growing. So you need to be clear first, what is my career goal? Once I know what that is, I need to understand that industry and sector. Then I would know, do I need an online course? Or do I need a physical course? Or do I not need a course at all? So I think the confusion comes in not even knowing what you want to do. Because if you're clear, it's easier for you to know, okay, this is the online course. And which online course? Because everybody is doing online course.
Okay, so then how do they know which? So is there like a way of certifying this is a valid online course? you have any suggestions? Because there's a lot of them.
So typically, I always advise people to speak to a career advisor first. A career advisor can steer you in the right direction. Majorly because they've dealt with a lot of tutors, they've dealt with a lot of people who give courses and all of that. They can tell you this is right and this is not right. Secondly, Google is your friend. If you research, you can look at reviews. You would know the one that nobody is saying anything here. Nobody talks about them. For example, there's nobody here that doesn't know Alison. You cannot say, oh, I'm not sure if Alison is really real. It's clear. So Google is your best friend. Ask questions, look for career advisors, and make sure that you have one HR person that is your friend or in your network. It is extremely important. There's so much that happens in the career and workspace. There's only HR people that know and can advise you.
Thank you.
If I may add, I know a lot of us leverage on the connections via LinkedIn. And you just want to be on LinkedIn, Sha? No. Connect with the people in your career, in your space. If you're in education, most of your people should be educators or administrators, things like that, or HR or whatever. So make the right connections. I'm a fan of online courses, but you know, the cheaper the course, so the less weighty it is in terms of rating and certification. I'm currently doing like 2 online courses, different universities, and I had to check them out. One is costing me an arm and a leg, but I know what I'm already getting because I'm even doing the course. I've not finished it yet. So those courses are, like you said, for people like us who cannot afford to physically get up and go to a university right now because I need the job to pay for the course because of my family situation. So if you are able to go for a physical course, for some people that's fine. I know someone who told me, I started that your online course. I ran away after 2 weeks. Too much homework. Read this, read this, read this, read this. I said, yes, you need to know, can you study by yourself? If you can't, online learning is not for you. Don't bother. Save your money, take your time, go somewhere, and then come back. That will be more helpful for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's a lady, she's 30 years old, and she's a virgin, and nobody wants to date her. All the guys are just like, I don't want to date you. You're a virgin. And she really wants to know what she can do. Yes, there's a lot of pressure. And it's actually, it's a very pressing topic, I know. But it's actually a question that has come forward from the audience. So can anybody on here give us some tips for her or some advice?
Pastor.
Oh, me? Notice how I was like, pretending like I was reading some intense something.
The question is over there.
Pressure is pressure, whether you're a virgin or not. So the issue is not because you're a virgin. It's because you have decided not to have sex before you get married. That's the real deal. So the 419 guys will come to the 419 somebody. And the serious people will come to the serious somebody. So the point is, I sound like a broken record. I think I sound like a broken record. But honestly, ask the Holy Spirit. SJ said it yesterday. Different people were asking her out. But she prayed, God, which one? And God said, the most broke one of them all. And she was like, okay. And she went there. And today she's still married. She's happy. Her husband is not intimidated. And she's not broke.
Yes,
and neither is he. Absolutely. So sometimes there are different things that make us attract certain people to us. It is not the case of your father gave you out. You're independent, you're by yourself. Who do you hang around? Are you always looking for the tall, dark, and handsome, sexy voice? You know what I mean? Those people, they always want to have sex, so. So understand what you're doing. So the brother in the church that doesn't really have the lyrics and may not have the cash to support them lyrics, he doesn't have the 5 o'clock shadow, he may be the diamond in the rough. So who are the people around you? And help yourself. My marriage was a hookup. I was hanging around with my older Christian people, and they connected me to Samson. And 20 years later, we're still married. So sometimes we'll be able to say, this is my sister, Ivie. She's a good girl. Oh. You may want to know her. That's all. I don't have to say, you marry Ivie. No. But if I don't know Ivie, whether, I cannot say, this is my sister, Ivie. She's a good girl. Who am I going to recommend? So sometimes be careful. Can't put, in fact, somebody told me something in university. Flies can never land on hot eba. Are you hot eba? If you are, the flies will not land. But if you're not on fire, the flies will be all over you.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to share a very, very quick story. I'm not supposed to do this, but because of what you said, I have to, because of the question. So I remember when I was dating, I'm still very young, so when I was younger than this, and I was dating, and a particular type of guy used to toast me. It was always the same type of guy. There was just a way, and it was all these kind of guys that, in my heart, I knew, I cannot be on fire if this kind of guy that keeps trying to toast me. They will send you to the road of perdition very quickly. And honestly speaking, I'm not going to even lie. I don't even know how this came to me. It must have been the Holy Spirit. One day I look at myself in the mirror and I said, Felicia, this is a problem. Do you understand? You cannot marry any of these kind of guys. So I said to God, I was like, God, do you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of this kind of guy. Nice looking and all, good packaging, but I know that there's more in me and that I cannot marry this kind of a guy. They need to stop toasting me, God. I don't want again. And I kid you not, it stopped. It actually stopped. And, I remember I had a list of specs and God warned me about that. And the person I ended up getting married to was nothing like my list of specs. But I kid you not, I don't regret it for 1 second. So I'm just saying that sometimes as well, you need to look at the patterns in your life. If you keep attracting the same kind of guy, you need to ask, okay, is there something going on? And maybe it's not you. Maybe you just have to go and pray to God about it and tell him that you should remove them far from you because it's not going to go. So that the good ones will see you and they'll come. Exactly. Okay, so we have another question here. This is for you, EVA. How do we spot good talent as an employer? People are very pretentious during interviews. And I think that this should actually go both ways. The employee, both ways, exactly. And then the person that's also going for the interview wants to know how to present themselves.
Okay, so yes, I agree that people are pretentious, but you can only be pretentious with things that have to do with attitude, personality, and the likes. And the truth is, every hiring process is a risk. You cannot overknow it all. There are candidates that are fantastic. They will come, but they do not have depth. So to be honest, it starts with you as an employer stating the competencies you're looking out for, knowing very clearly what is my culture at the moment and what can I not handle. And then you need to be intentional about the questions you ask. Because you know what? There are some questions you ask, you cannot over-pretend that you will fail it. So I remember that in my former organization, we're very close, we're a family. If one person is going on a date, the entire organization knows. We're dressing her up. You need to catch this guy. We're very close. And a young lady came to interview with us. From the interview, we already knew that this girl could never work with us. Why? She was extremely intelligent. She answered all the questions accurately, but with a very bad attitude. Now, we had to make a decision. What was important to us as a company? Did we need somebody who just knew the work? You can be in your cubicle, do the work. When I give you a task, do it. Or did we need somebody who would flow with the organization? So if you do not even have that as an employer, you're going to have a problem because you hire just anybody who sounds good. Now, for employees coming to interview, I always tell you that the interview, don't be under pressure that they want to check me out. It's your opportunity to check them out. Yeah. And it starts from the recruitment process. So when they sent you an email, if they sent you an email to invite you for the interview, it tells you something about the organization. How was the email typed? When you got there, did you meet a rude receptionist? If you met one and she's still in that organization, there's a problem. When you sat at the panel discussion, they were interviewing you, did you notice that they were not coordinated? Did it seem like one person wanted to shush the other one? It's your opportunity to also gauge them. And when they ask you, do you have any question? Please ask your question. It's your opportunity to also know, do I want to work here or not? I know that sometimes when we don't have jobs, we're under pressure. We just want any job. But don't take a job that's going to take you 10 times backwards in your career. You need to be extremely intentional about that. So it's a risk either way. There are people who came for interviews, structure was there, everything seemed fantastic, and then you get in and things are not the same, which is why prayer comes in. I always tell people I'm a Christian. I tell all my candidates and my clients, before you apply for any job, please ask the Lord first. Because he's the only one that can see the end of that company before you. So there's no need. And if God still tells you to go, the fact that he told you doesn't mean that there will be no chaos. But it's always part of your journey.
Okay, so we have another question here. There's a lady who is in a marriage only because the Bible says divorce is bad. She's extremely unhappy, and she just wants to know what to do.
Well,
That's the question.
I'm not going to ask anybody to leave or stay in a marriage. That decision is entirely yours. The only thing I can tell you is that I do know that God hates a divorce, but God does not hate a divorcee. That's all I have to say.
Very good answer. So, are we saying that God hates divorce, but he doesn't mind abuse? Is that what we're saying? Are we saying that God hates divorce, but he can deal with infidelity? There are certain things some women can take. She stayed in a bad marriage for 11 years. Somebody like me, I'll probably have poisoned him by the second year. God knows. It would not have happened. You know, God is working on us. We're getting born again daily.
I love the real God.
So, at that age, I suspect myself. I may have put something somewhere. So, I prayed and, I got saved early. And I think one of the things that God did was he saw where I was going. I knew that catch her now or else there's going to be a problem. So he had mercy on me and he helped me. But seriously, it's like staying in a bad job. You know you're suffering and all. And you don't do anything about it. You don't have those conversations with God. Let's move away from the extremes. You are being abused and all. You are just not happy. You just don't like him. You liked him before. Everything was okay. But now you're not. You're not satisfied anymore. Is that the basis for a separation? Of course, everybody here will say no. But then what are you doing about it? We spend so much time meditating on our unhappiness and not deliberately doing things about them. So talk to somebody. If you don't want to talk to somebody in church, go and book an appointment with a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counselor. Talk to somebody and say, I am not happy now. You will be shocked that you are the problem. That the man is normal. But you are high-handed, your excesses are just, something's just wrong with you, sister. So the psychologist needs to fix you up. You need to talk to somebody, you need to be real with yourself and know that, I remember saying, Lord, I said, Lord, have mercy on me and help me. Because my parents were in such a bad marriage and I'd seen what not to do. But I also knew that, there was a period where my dad lost his job. And so for about 8 years, I remember clearly, my mom was sorting us out and she verbally abused him. That's the only way to describe it, in my opinion. And so I remember saying, Lord, I pray that I will never have more money than my husband. In case that knot is in my head. And I may be tempted to behave in this manner. Just make him fat financially so that there's no story. And that's what now he even teased me, said, you and this your groundnut money salary. I say, it's okay like that. I'm happy with my groundnut money salary. And we just laugh. But I prayed about it deliberately. Be real with yourself. You are impatient. You can't deal with it. Pray, Lord, have mercy on me. Send me the man that has the patience of Job. And help me work on being patient. You know yourself. You know you're impatient. You know you talk too much. You know. Like I said, I would have poisoned the man. I would, seriously. But God is helping me. And be honest. Know that you put yourself in a situation, you are going to mess up. So run. It's not because you want to get married. You now go and get married. And then tomorrow night come and say, hey, Pastor Joy, I need to talk to you. I'm not happy. Why did you get married?
Let me quickly add that. I don't mind seeing the person who asked this question. Yeah. Let's talk one-on-one. Yeah. Yes, I don't mind seeing the person, but not today. Not today. Or maybe today, but after today, I'm not in town.
There are counselors available at the back as well.
Yes, because why I'm saying this is because you need to know why you are unhappy.
Yes.
If it's not the extreme case of abuse or infidelity, you need to know why you're unhappy. Most of us, I'm using the word us so you don't feel like, are unhappy because of Instagram. Yes. You're busy looking at relationship goals and you ignore the blessing that you have at home.
That's right.
What is the cause of your unhappiness? Are you leaving the 80% God has blessed you with to chase 20% of what your spouse does not possess? Is that the cause of your unhappiness? You want your husband to be 100%. It's not possible. You're not married to a perfect person. You're married to an imperfect human being like yourself. When you remember that you're also imperfect, it will help you accommodate his excesses or the things that he doesn't measure up to, his weaknesses. Always remember that you're not 100%. So I have a husband that I'm extremely happy with, but he's not an angel. There's sometimes he annoys me and I'm looking at him, did I really marry this guy? Yes, there's some mornings I wake up and I look at him like, really? And the other days I still go back and kneel down and thank God that, yes, this is my husband. So what is making you unhappy? Are you comparing your life to somebody's marriage, your marriage to somebody else's marriage? Are you using somebody's clock to measure your time? If that is what you're doing, you're going to be very unhappy for the rest of your life. Even if you leave this marriage and go to the next one. Remember what I told you about marriage? It is what? In case you came late and you don't know what they are saying, I told them earlier, marriage is a bale of okrika. You don't know what is inside until you open it.
I was just going to add, when Pastor Joy said that sometimes we just don't seek help. And you seek help in the, you want to tell your friend about it and all that. There was an experience that happened to me, I think, earlier this year. And I was in church, it was a service, we were praying, and I started crying. And, everybody was looking at me because I always sit in front, and it was as if, I had, the spirit. But then I think it was Sister JPK that just came and met me and said, what's going on? And I just said, I felt overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. And she kept looking at me. And I realized that I'd been somewhat in a place of being, was I happy? Was I unhappy? And the truth is, every time, my husband and I, people just see us and they say, oh, we look this perfect, But we are perfect, by God's grace. But I felt, I needed to speak to someone. So I went to meet her. And let me tell you, it's amazing how you realize that you are the one with the problem. Yes. So there's a lot of times when you're saying, I'm unhappy, I'm overwhelmed, and you're already blaming someone else about it. There's never anything wrong. If we all lived in the westernized world, I'm sure the amount of shrinks will be seen. But there's no stigma attached to it. I think we had like 3 sessions. I know my husband is watching this. He'll be wondering, oh my God. But we had those sessions and I realized how it could have been that I had so much in me. I'd come from somewhat a home that marriage wasn't, but at the end of the day, you need to look at yourself more before you start to cast those stones, and you always need to talk to somebody, a shrink, a counselor, someone that's experienced about it all the time.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question, I am a go-getter in my organization and the CEO has noticed me. However, this has caused friction with my colleagues and my immediate boss. How do I manage this and still rise on the job? Anyone?
Okay, so a few things. One, always remember that you're dealing with human beings, not robots, which means that you will always step on toes in your career. It's pretty normal. And typically, we have more unserious people than serious people. So when you're focused on your job, the unserious ones get angry. Instead of deciding, you know what, I like the way the CEO notices this girl, I need to step up my game. So first of all, you may not be able to change much. However, there's something called emotional intelligence. And you have to deliberately learn it. I remember when I joined an organization, I had a colleague of mine who, I was HR manager, but she always used to feel like I needed to defer to her first before the CEO, and I couldn't understand it. And so we used to have a lot of quarrels and all. And then one day I spoke to my mentor. My mentor said to me, "Ivy, it's simple. Go and meet her. Act like she's your egbon. Tell her, ma, I'm thinking of this idea. What do you think?" Then she already feels really good. I shared the idea with her. When we go for staff meeting and I share it, she's beaming with joy. I've gotten what I needed. Now the thing is, she had the ear of the CEO. So it would have been foolish for me to keep her as an enemy. I needed to drag her to my corner, and emotional intelligence helped. I know another scenario, a HR manager who joined a corporation that they had these unions. Now, someone didn't come to the factory and did something wrong, and he fired the guy. The next day, factory workers went on strike. When they found out why, they realized that it's the head of the union that the HR manager had fired. The HR manager got fired for firing the factory worker, because those are the fee earners. But if he had emotional intelligence, there's a better way of dealing with things than just firing, query, and the like. So for your colleagues and your boss, you need to check yourself. Am I rubbing it in? Especially when you just joined the company. Somebody has been there and labored. You just joined the company, they are noticing you. You need to be deliberately humble. It won't take anything away from you. Rather, it's going to help you in the long run. So please, go for emotional intelligence courses. I had to take the course myself because it did not come to me naturally. But if I intend to go far, I'm going to meet people that are difficult. It is just normal. I currently work in an organization where I report to 15 partners. 15 partners with 15 different personalities. If I don't have emotional intelligence, I'm going to fail. Simple.
Okay, there's another question here. How do you deal with an irresponsible, cheating, and never do well husband? This question keeps coming, so we need to answer the question. We need to answer.
Okay, this question has come a number of times.
Has come again.
So let's just answer it once. Before you bury the man
And kill him there.
and label him and nail the coffin, what did we say? Check yourself first. Your husband is not cheating because there's this thing in Africa that we say to African women, "Oh, make sure you give your husband sex all the time so he doesn't cheat." That does not stop a man from cheating. It could help so that he is sexually satisfied, so that he doesn't have to, the temptation is reduced. Remember, I didn't say it went, I just said it reduced. But understand that for this man to behave like this, him and God are not on the same level first. So do not use the measuring parameter that you use to judge a born-again faithful man of God to judge this man. Understand that first. Number two, understand that if this man is not faithful to God, it's impossible for him to be faithful to you. So I think your energy should be focused on God fixed him. God grab him. Not that you don't become a monitoring spirit. Check the phone, check this, check this. It's okay. You can't. Trust, pray for his salvation so that he becomes faithful to God. By default, he'll be faithful to you. I find sometimes we cover up for the husbands too much. Because we want to look all Instagram, you know what I mean? We do not report. Let me tell you what I did to my parents. So once, in the middle of prayer conference, I know they won't watch, so I can cast them. In the middle of a prayer conference, they had come to our house, and they had a fight. Now, my husband said he was in the living room, and he had the quarrel. Maybe, my dad wanted sex or something, and my mom was abusing him, so he hit her, bam. So in the morning, she woke up. "I want to borrow a hat." I said, "Hat? What happened?" "But daddy boxed my eye." That's how she said it. I was angry. So you know what I did to them? I went to the chief organizer, the guest minister of the program. At the end of the conference, I said, "I need to see you." And you know how quickly they're going? "Sir, what's the problem?" I said, "My father hit my mother in my marriage home. You need to talk to them." The man wanted to die. And my parents were right there, but I reported them. And he spoke to them, he did all sorts. They still ended up getting a divorce, by the way. So I'm saying this because when you go through that trauma, like she said, the trauma you put your children through is terrible. So do something about your differences, please. I remember myself and my siblings used to pray, these people should just divorce. Let us have peace in this house. Yes. So you think it's just you and that man. You're forgetting that there are 2 or 3 souls that you are damaging because of your issues. Talk to someone. Report the matter. Speak to someone. That whole, no, don't bring a third party into your home. I'm sorry, you will just die. Don't bring a third party that has strings attached. No. Go and speak to a professional, a neutral party. Look for somebody whose marriage you appreciate. Our counselors who did marriage counseling for us, they're like our best mentors till tomorrow. We speak to them all the time. If my husband messes up, I know who I report. Even our children know that they can report us to those people. Even our children know, I'm going to tell Granny Helen, I'm going to tell Granny Falokwe, Grandpa Falokwe, and he's going to deal with you. And we'll all laugh, but they can see that we are accountable. If a man is not accountable, hey.
Thank you. Okay, one last question because we're over time. Apostle has said a certain man is the will of God for my life, but I have no feelings for him. What should I do? Quickly, before they chase us off the stage. Quickly.
Who is Apostle?
You say, who is Apostle?
Sorry, please. I can't. Okay, they don't want to answer, so I will answer for you. This thing used to happen to me when I was dating. Not Apostle, but somebody will come and say, oh, this is your husband. Listen, God is not an author of confusion. What God has confirmed to somebody on the outside, he will surely confirm to you as well.
Let me quickly add to what you have just said. The Bible says that he who finds a wife. And you can also apply that to the woman. She who finds a husband. So it shows you that it is not God's responsibility to find your mate. So God is not going to send an apostle to find for you. You have the responsibility to find. And the finding there is that you connect, you relate, you appreciate each other, you love each other, and it's working out for your own communal good. And then you take it to God for his blessing. I hope that scripture is familiar. So it is not apostles' responsibility to find your spouse. It is not his responsibility, please. So I don't understand where this question is really coming from.
Let me add a twist to that. Because we respect our spiritual leaders, we go to them for advice. So like I said, my marriage was a hookup. My apostles they told my husband that, see this girl, she's a good girl. See that girl, she's a good girl. But they did not make a choice. Very good. So I can recommend my sister Evie to somebody now. Very good. But I will not insist. However, when I went to pray, I didn't like him. I didn't want to pray about him at all. So they asked me, this brother. I said, I don't know. He's always calling me and telling me. They said, is he not a brother? You are a sister. Pray now. And I said, okay, I'll pray. So I went to pray, but I didn't want God to talk to me. Has it happened to you? Yes. So you shall pray, but hoping God don't say anything. So when I felt that the Spirit wanted to catch me, I put loud music. I was just pacing, because I did not want to hear. And at the end of the day, I just woke up again, and I really felt like, what's happening? So I just said very quietly, okay, God, how far? What's your opinion? And very clearly, I promise you, the Lord said to me, you have asked for somebody you can serve me with. I recommend him, but you must choose to love him for yourself. I was like, So, it's going to be my fault if I don't like him anymore? But God knows me, and God knows if he tries me, I'll say, you told me to marry him. So, recommendations can be made. God knows each and every one of us, and God has given us free will. God knows that Samson is the best person for Joy. But if Joy has refused to arrange her mind and she's refused to prepare herself, why should God make Samson wait and suffer because Joy is not ready? You move on to somebody else. Another somebody. There was somebody before joy, by the way. So since that somebody was not all right, who showed up? Moi. So, please, your mentors can recommend, absolutely. But God must confirm to you. Apostle came to me in Yola then. God said, and I was a bit shaken. One of my mentors said, if you marry him, I won't talk to you again. That's all I needed. No, I just needed somebody I trusted to help me, because this man was a man of God. And it was like, if God has spoken to him, you know, it can be intimidating, really. When all the people that were toasting me, pastor, prophet, apostle, all, you know, it's like, wow, what's going on here? So I needed help. And God helped me, and God put my apostles around me. So it's not insisting or imposing, but counsel. And God must confirm it to you.
Okay, so we are over time. There's a question, but I think they might cane me if I do the question. So all the panelists are going to be available after. You can please speak to them. We also have counselors in the back. So for anybody that's having really deep personal issues, some of the questions that came up, you know, they need a bit more context from what we said. So please see any of the counselors, and you can see any of the panelists as well. I want to thank these amazing, amazing 4 women. Please thank them. Round of applause. Thank you so much. Also, last but not the least, if you have any questions that you cannot, you know, ask here, or when you get home as you are sleeping, the Holy Spirit reminds you of a question and you don't have an answer to it, jewels@elevationg.org. Please email your question, jewels@elevationg.org, and we'll be very, very happy to answer your questions. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.